Okay. Evening. Let's start with tzedakah. Safety of Jewish people everywhere, and for the coming of Mashiach. If you're watching at home, please give tzedakah. So we're past Tisha B'Av. Passed yesterday. Now the next thing on our radar is Rosh Hashanah. That's why we're talking about Rosh Hashanah past a week, I guess. The Talmud tells us that it's at this time of year that the nights start to get longer. When the nights get longer, you're supposed to utilize that extra time to study Torah. You're supposed to stay up late and study Torah. So we're going to do that. We're going to study Torah. From the 15th, yeah, around. Okay, I will be honest, I didn't have adequate time to prepare today, but I prepared a little bit. So it can be a shorter class. So we're going to finish off the chapter today, chapter 582 in the Alter Rebbe's Code of Jewish Law, the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch, Tov Kuf Pei Beis. The very last law is number 17. It says like this. As usual, we're going to read it inside, translate, and spice it up, elaborate a little bit. V'noihagin shekol echad ve'echad oimer lachaveiroi. We are accustomed that every single person says to their friend, L'shana toiva tikosev. This is referring to we'll see what time of Rosh Hashanah exactly, but L'shana toiva tikosev. We greet each other with L'shana toiva tikosev. L'shana toiva means for a good year, tikosev, you should be written. Okay? 1 second. Ve'ein loimar davar zeh b'yom sheni shel Rosh Hashanah. We do not say this greeting, this phrase, on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. By the way, fun fact, there's 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. There's not 1 day of Rosh Hashanah. In fact, Rosh Hashanah is the only holiday that was basically always 2 days. We do not say this phrase on the second day of Rosh Hashanah after midday. Okay? Why don't we say it after midday of the second day of Rosh Hashanah? Because the writing of Rosh Hashanah has already been completed. The background. First of all, we learn in different sources that on Rosh Hashanah there's a court case that happens. It's the greatest court case. I would say it's the greatest court case in history, but it's repeated every single year. It's the greatest court case in the universe. It happens on a yearly basis. It doesn't happen in this world, it happens above. There's a heavenly court case, and every single creature in this universe is judged. What's going to be with this creation for the coming year? So there's 2 parts to this. First of all, there's the judgment. Then there's the writing, the decree, whatever is going to be, is written, and then it is sealed, like you seal off an envelope. So we have a custom that we greet each other on Rosh Hashanah, L'shana tova tikasev. You should be written for a good year. That when this judgment happens, is being written, it should be good for a good year. One of the first times this is brought is from the Torah. The Torah, spoken about a couple times already, the Torah is the original, I don't want to say draft even, but the original basis of the Code of Jewish Law, where the Torah consolidated all the main opinions, into whatever it was the topic is. So regarding this topic, he says that the Noyagin Ba'ashkenaz, in Germany, they are accustomed to say Tikosev b'shana tova. You should be written for a good year. It sounds the same, but in the Hebrew slightly different. The Alter Rebbe writes L'shana tova tikosev. For a good year, you should be written. Okay, good year first, written second. The Torah says you should be written for a good year. Tikosev l'shana tova. Okay, b'shana tova. Ramoshe Islish is in the Shulchan Aruch, the Ashkenazic code of authority for us, Ashkenazim. He says the Alter Rebbe says here, L'shana teva tikasev, we greet each other on Rosh Hashanah by saying L'shana teva tikasev, should be written for a good year. However, this is what the Alter Rebbe says in the Code of Jewish Law. Later, the Alter Rebbe wrote a Siddur, a prayer book, and he wrote a number of laws in the prayer book, many of which are different than what he says in the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, the Siddur for us is the final say. Okay, so whatever it says in the Shulchan Aruch in the Code of Jewish Law, we need to know. But what we actually do is we follow what it says in the Siddur. Okay, in the Siddur, the Alter Rebbe does not say we say Lashana Tova Tikasev, which should be written for a good year. He says we greet each other by saying Lashana Tova Tikasev V'Seichasem, an extra word. V'Seichasem means for a good year you should be written and sealed. The seal is added, S-E-A-L. I was going to say sealing, but not the sealing. So in the Shulchan Aruch he says Lashana Tova Tikasev, it should be written for a good year. In the Siddur he says Lashana Tova Tikasev V'Seichasem, it should be written and sealed for a good year. We're very particular about this wording. Very particular about this wording. In fact, it says in the Sefer HaMinhagim, which is the Chabad, I don't know what to call it. It's the compilation of the Chabad customs. It's not the stuff that's usually written in the Code of Jewish Law. What you have to do, this is just how we conduct ourselves, besides for what we're required to do. So, our particular customs. So it says over there that Lashon Yachid Dafka, you're supposed to say specifically in first person, in individual. In English, you don't really have this, but I heard from a local here that they took they were in Israel and they took Ulpan, which is basically they learn Hebrew, and there's a bunch of Americans and Australians, English speakers, and they were discussing that in Hebrew there's Lashon Yachid and Lashon Rabim. There's singular and plural. It could be the same word. It could be used for singular and plural. Sorry, let me say it differently. There's a singular version of a word and a plural version of a word. And they couldn't get it. What does that mean? You say you to somebody, right? You could be talking to one person or 500 people. You can still say you. There's no plural word for you. And nobody was getting it. So she's from here, but she originally was from Wisconsin or something. I don't know, somewhere a little more west or south, I don't know what. And nobody's getting this plural you thing. And she looked at them like they're all crazy. She said, what's the big deal? Y'all, right? Y'all is plural for you. So in Hebrew, you have plural of singular words. And there's also singular versions of it. So, Lashana Tova Tikasev or V'Seichasem, you should be written for a good, it should be written and sealed for a good year, is singular. Tikasev V'Seichasem is singular. You, individual, should be written and sealed for a good year. Okay? Now, in correct way of doing things, when you're talking to an honorable person, oftentimes in the when you're speaking the holy tongue, you're supposed to refer to them, even when you're talking to them in first person and you're talking to them face to face and you're talking to one person, if they're a person of dignity and honor and respect, you're supposed to talk to them in a plural. It's a way of speaking. It's a respectful manner of speaking. Again, English doesn't work with this. However, when it comes to this, we still say it in the singular, no matter how dignified the person is. We say Lashana Tova Tikasev V'Seichasem. Women greet each other and they say it in the female version, which is Lashana Tova Tikasevi V'Seichasem Mi. That sounds like me, but it's not about me. It's the female way of saying it. However, there's also the plural way of saying it. In fact, there are many times that the Lubavitcher Rebbe said it to the public and wrote publicly to a public letter to people before Rosh Hashanah. And the Rebbe signed off Lashana Tova Tikasevu V'Seichasemu, which is the plural that you should be written and sealed for a good year. This is how we greet each other. I will say one more thing, which is that it says in the Shulchan Aruch that we say this. We don't say this the second day of Rosh Hashanah after midday. Okay? Which means, that sounds like, when do you say it? You say it the first night of Rosh Hashanah, you say it the day of Rosh Hashanah, you say it the second night of Rosh Hashanah, you say it the second day of Rosh Hashanah till midday. Okay? You have 4 basic opportunities to say it. However, it's recorded, our practical custom is we in Chabad only say it on the first night of Rosh Hashanah. I was trying to look into this. It seems like there's room to say it also on the first morning of Rosh Hashanah, but practically we say it on the first night of Rosh Hashanah, and that's it. Okay, I thought it was going to be shorter than that, but good. We elaborated a little bit. Okay. Ma'ariv. Good night.